some of the people in this audience know the background of Drew Associates, but some don't. So, Bob, can you kind of put in perspective for us this film and what your company was doing with filmmaking at that time?
I was looking for a way to put Life magazine still pictures into motion, and I thought it could be stronger if people talked and moved and did things on screen. At that time, documentary films were all posed and scripted and directed, and they were lectures, and lectures are dull, and that's why documentaries were dull. Now, you just saw tonight a masterpiece by Richard Lipscomb, by Lipscomb, which shows what can be done in a documentary film if you are smart enough to pick the right subject, wise enough to pick the right people, lucky enough to have the right equipment, and tie into a story that is very compelling. That's really what I was after. And I just have to congratulate Lipscomb again before he dies. He's getting old, you know. and congratulate myself on setting up the situation where he could operate.
Well, Drew and I were both writers and editors and at Life magazine. And I remember the first time I saw one of his films, I thought, oh, wow, that's reality. I mean, we're trying at Life magazine to tell reality with still pictures, but he told the reality with film and with people, capturing people themselves. And when I thought about capturing reality, I thought, you know, I went to Miami High. I know what it was like to be there when the teams were playing, Edison particularly, and wouldn't it be great to film it and just tell the whole story, not just from the what's going on the field, but what it goes on before the game and during the game at halftime, and trying to capture the reality of what this competition meant to all of them. And that's what I hope that we got across.
I want to.
Can I make
go ahead,
one remark? This is further about Jim Lipscomb. When he came to work for us, I thought of him as a journalist, which I thought of myself as, and I thought of Hope Ryden as differentiated from a photographer. So our idea was to find stories and set photographers up and get the film made and edit it and so forth. One day Lipscomb came to me, and he was a correspondent, not a photographer. He came to me and said, "Bob, do you mind if I take one of our cameras home to shoot pictures of my baby, my little boy?" And I said, "Sure." A week later, he showed me some of the film, and what do you know? The film was well composed, and most of all, it was stable. Now new cameramen, or old cameramen even, have trouble being stable. Actually, camera women have a better time being stable because they're shorter and they're wider and so forth. But Lipscomb shot some very good stuff on his own child, and next thing I knew, he was out shooting stories.
The first film that I thought that I wanted to suggest was because I had seen Chubby Checker in a concert, and he rolled his hips and his shoulders and his hands and everything, and I thought, well, in fact, I did a still story about him, but the whole time I was doing it, I thought, the action is so much more exciting than the still pictures that we can get of Chubby Checker. And I went to him and said, let's do Chubby Checker. And, well, I ended up not making the film about Chubby Checker, but I did end up with the permission to make a film about Miami High.
Well, Let me turn to Bill Ray here, because he's one of the stalwarts of the life photography crew. And how did you enter into the Drew Associates crew?
I'm not sure, but I just want to thank everybody up here on the dais for leaving all the dirt and the scratches in that print.
You, according to the credits, you were following Haywood Fowle.
Right.
And I wonder if you have. I wonder if you have memories of that time. I mean,
I didn't realize at the time what an awful coach he was. I mean, you know, I thought he was a kind of a maniac, and of course, you always want a maniac to photograph. It's much better than a sane person. Give me the craziest person in the room, and we'll do a story on it.
Well, Hope, I think we're taking sound for with Pennebaker.
Right.
Is that right?
Right. That's right.
I'd love to hear your memories of that time.
Well, it was powerful. I don't know what else to say. It was powerful, and I think we were all exhausted all the time. Maybe we weren't always nice to each other because we were all tired, but we got a film, and it was terrific, Jim. And I'm so proud that I was in on that. That's the first time that I was in the field with anybody here in this situation of the Drew Associates. What else can I say?
Well, let me turn to Pennebaker. Penny, can you talk about what your role was on this crew?
We were all kind of on a blind hunt to have a film happen in front of us. The difference between the documentary when I first perceived it was really that it was a story told by somebody, and it was filled with still pictures and sometimes home movies, but basically somebody told you a story, which is a time-honored method of telling stories. And suddenly, the camera made possible a story in which you actually witnessed what happened, which is really fantastic when you think about it. You actually see the volcano go off. And up to then, you'd only heard somebody tell you what it was like. And so if you're going to really do that, if you're going to witness something, you don't know what you're going to witness till it's happened. So the problem for us always was when you got this material all together, and in this case, there was 5 or 6 people out. I mean, Claude Fournier had come down from Canada to join us. So I think there was 6 of us filming, maybe more. I don't remember now. But everybody was sort of off filming whatever took their interest, and nobody knew what we had till you sat down and looked at it on an editing machine. And that was the moment when it was a different process. You had to then make theater, because that's what people would want to see. They didn't want to see blind luck take place in front of them. They could watch that in a baseball game. They wanted to see the theater that people had put on stages for years. And that was a different kind of thing, and it took us a while to come between those two and make them work. But the theater of it was important, you know. Hearing the coach's lines was important. Dialogue was important. All those things were crucial, whereas prior to that, in the documentary, they didn't matter much, because the narrator would tell you what he said, or the story would tell you in some direct way. But to actually hear it yourself, to hear the coach say to the guy who's sitting there desolate because he's been kicked out of the game, this is the last game you'll ever play in your high school career. You know, you think he might have taken out a club and hit him on the head. This is a kid. He's probably, 15, 16 years old? That's an amazing thing. Now, you could have had an actor enact that and written it out, but people would have said, that's not, it's not real. But when you see and hear it, it's so real, it kind of makes makes your back sort of crawl.
I think that what Penny said was very interesting. What was different about the way we were making films was that we never knew how it would come out. I studied drama at the University of Iowa, and one of the books that I read was from a Russian who said real drama is when it doesn't matter whether you succeed or fail. It just matters that you care. And that was what our films were all about. We didn't know who was going to win.
There was a lot of talk among us as we made different films about what made good films and made them strong and didn't. And Hope Ryden came up with a sentence that stayed with me forever, and I try to live by it in a way. She said, you can care about a film to the extent that the people in the film care about what they're doing. Now, that may not be exactly what you said, but it's roughly what she said, and it's absolutely true. If you want to make a film that fails, make a film about people who don't give a damn.
Steve, I want to bring you into this conversation as someone who was on the film. But I wonder, in your memory, how much were you aware that this film crew was there documenting this game? Was that something that the team was very aware of, or not so much?
I don't know. Coach Mooney never before or after banged that bang. When that happened, I said, "Geez, he knows the cameras are here." But other than that, they were totally unobtrusive, invisible, and just let nature run its course. And I just want to say that I'm honored to be on the same platform with these people who took a football game and turned it into a piece of art.
This is an interesting question that, of course, can't help be asked, but be asked by any documentaries. How did people ignore the cameras? But I think it's today. There's so many more cameras out there that that we're more used to it. But 1961, it was very novel, and so I think the question is well put. I don't know who wants. Jim, you want to take that?
Well, what started off was, first of all, we were filming them in practice at the high schools before the game, long before the game, and when we were filming them, we weren't asking them at all what to do, and we weren't suggesting anything that they should do. We were just recording what happened.
You can't direct a lot of cameramen in a situation like this like you could a squad of soldiers or something. I mean, there is no objective. It's just keep looking and like what you see, you know, and if you can, get it on film. So you're kind of, you just let people go and find their own targets of whatever. And that's a funny thing to sort of be involved with, because it's like a bank robbery where you're not really supposed to get the money. I don't know what you're supposed to get, but it's not. There's no way you can judge whether you did it or not, except finally when you look at the film.
It's funny, as we've been putting this together, this screening, I went back and I looked at old articles in the Miami Herald from 1964, which are, you know, full of weird, different allegations, including the implication that the directors had instructed Coach Mooney to slam the paddle and do other things. But any other thing you want to say about that, Jim?
Well, in fact, I remember particularly the writer who said these men must have these cameramen must have directed all of these guys to do these things because it's so extraordinary, and they're like a coach banging on a wooden board before he sends his team out into the playing. And what was real was that I was as surprised as the players, and they were surprised and enthused, and they went out and won the game.
Well, all of us who make documentaries today really stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who crafted this, and we're grateful to have them. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks to the crew behind Mooney vs. Fowl.
And thank you. It's very, very wonderful to see it with you.